Welcome, Emma. Could you tell us a bit more about the Yom HaShoah celebrations today, please?
Certainly, yeah. Yom HaShoah is the Jewish community commemoration event to remember and to commemorate the lives of the people who were murdered during the Holocaust. So it's a community event. It's a commemoration really of the 6 million Jewish men, women and children who lost their lives during the persecution instigated by Nazi Germany and its collaborators between 1933 and 1945.
How important is this to not only the Jewish community, but to the rest of the world?
It's a hugely important commemoration. I mean, what we're doing really is not just remembering what happened during the Holocaust and commemorating it, but we're trying to get people talking about how it happened and why it happened, and therefore to think a bit more deeply about some of the issues that come up around racism, around treating people differently, around blaming people, around scapegoating, and all of those issues that come out in Holocaust education. So really it's an opportunity to, I guess, draw people's attention to what happened, but also to think about what we can do in our communities now to make sure that these things don't happen again. And this year it's particularly significant because 2020 is the 75th anniversary of the liberation of the Nazi concentration camps across Germany and occupied Europe. So we're commemorating that this year as well, the 75th anniversaries.
And how are you commemorating this?
Well, we're doing a digital commemoration this year. Obviously, there would be a major national event, but given the situation we're in with the COVID-19 lockdown, the commemoration is going to be digital. So the Yom HaShoah UK charitable organisation has put together a digital programme which will start this evening. So if you find them on social media or their website at Yom HaShoah UK, you can follow the events on there. And we've put together, well, Kirklees TV have put together a piece for us that we'll be showing later this evening as part of that commemoration event.
Where is the commemoration event going? As you say, it's going to be digital. Does that mean worldwide? Or is it more of a national event?
It's a UK national event, so it will be focusing on UK experiences and survivor communities, and the contribution that the Holocaust Exhibition and Learning Centre is putting forward is about Yorkshire-based survivors of the Holocaust talking about their experiences of the liberation towards the end of the war. So their liberation from concentration camps at Auschwitz, at Buchenwald, at Bergen Belsen, and how they experienced that, and how, in some cases, how they came to the UK subsequently. So we're focusing on UK experiences, but as a digital event, clearly it can be accessed by people wherever they are in the world.
With regards to like this digital event, what happens then if COVID-19 wasn't here? What would a typical celebration be like? If you could just give us some kind of idea.
Well, they're very powerful, respectful commemoration events. So last year I went to the event in Manchester and we had colleagues represented at the event in Leeds, and there is a major national event in London. And they take different formats, but the event I was at involved survivors. They were integral to the event. People gave their testimony. So we had testimonies from 3 Holocaust survivors and refugees who's had different experiences talking about what happened to them during the Holocaust and the impact on their families. And there was also involvement from 2nd and 3rd generation, and there were even 4th generation in the audience. So children, grandchildren, great-grandchildren of people who had experienced persecution and had survived. And that for me was the most powerful part of the event I went to in Manchester, seeing all these people who were the descendants of those survivors and who were living proof that Nazi Germany did not accomplish what it had sought to do. And seeing all those people in the room was really quite powerful, and also made us reflect on the people who had lost their lives and who had lost that opportunity, you know, to live, to contribute, to be part of their communities, to have families.
Listening to you tell me that story, it evokes my understanding of the enslavement of African people. Yeah, it's very, very similar, but quite different. If you understand what I mean.
I do. I think there's a difference in time scale. Obviously, I mean the events that we're talking about with the Shoah, that's the Hebrew word for Holocaust. They're within living memory, and I think there's a lot of parallels. I mean, there is let me get this right. At the root of both the enslavement of Africans and the Holocaust is racism. And I think that's something very important that we need to be remembering.
I do see the outcomes were slightly different though. For the Jewish people, they wanted to exterminate them, and for the African descendants who were enslaved, they wanted to make money out of them. They were an economic benefit for them if they could get as many back to the mainland England, or mainland everywhere. And that is a significant difference. Brutal, inhumane. I think, as one of these survivors put it, stripped naked. That was
quite literally as well, quite literally. But I think, you know, a lot of people, because it's not taught so much in schools, a lot of people are not so aware that forced labour was a huge element of the Holocaust. It was one of the ways in which Nazi Germany murdered Jewish people, was by exploiting them for their labour, and through that process they were not expected to survive. So, you know, there are some parallels there, and that whole thing that you referred to about completely dehumanising people, literally stripping them naked down to nothing and making them other, making them not human. There's another similarity there in the way that the underlying assumption about people not being worthy, not being as worthwhile, is again something that you see time and time again in human rights abuses and in genocides.
And the history is littered with those stories.
It is. Yeah, it absolutely is, frighteningly.
Yeah. Just quickly about the Huddersfield Jewish community. How big is it?
There's not a huge Jewish community in Huddersfield, but we do get regular visitors from people who are Jewish, and they might be associated with synagogues in Leeds or in Manchester if they go to the synagogue. And there are plenty of people around who consider themselves culturally Jewish. So they identify with the Jewish community, even if they're not religious. So I couldn't put a number on it in terms of, you know, numbers of individuals, but we get a steady stream of people coming through who do identify as Jewish.
Well, Emma, thank you so much for your time. I hope tonight goes really, really well. I'll try and tune in, and hopefully we can speak again real soon.
Yeah. Certainly. Thank you very much, Milton.
Thank you.